Hi, my name's Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about Schoenberg's Pierrot Lunaire, Opus 21. I'd like to explore the structure of this modernist masterpiece composed in 1912. I'd like to explore how the music relates to the poetry, how the music itself is structured, because I do believe that having some understanding of the ins and outs of music can greatly aid our appreciation and enjoyment of it. Now, Schoenberg's Pierrot Lunaire is something of a watershed moment in Western art music. I remember as a young teenager, maybe about 12, hearing this for the first time. My music teacher lent me a collection of like a vinyl box set of the music of the Second Viennese School, and two pieces to my youthful ears really kind of stuck with me and inspired me. One was Schoenberg's Survivor from Warsaw. Maybe I'll do that in another video. But the other one was definitely Pierrot Lunaire. I was just completely bowled over by this music. And Schoenberg often gets, he's got a bit of a reputation for being difficult and not particularly popular and very angular, etc. But this music from his pre-serial days, this kind of free atonal music, just so exciting, so expressive, so vibrant, just full of life. It's such a joy to listen to this music, and that's why I'd like to do this video. The music's been on my mind for a while. A bit about the background. In 1912, Schoenberg was commissioned to set some poetry to music by Albertina Zehmer, who's this actress. And she wanted this poetry, Pierrot Lunaire, which was written by a Belgian poet, Albert Giraud. And she wanted that set to music in a German translation by someone called Hartleben. And she approached Schoenberg. And my goodness me, Schoenberg just really pulled out the stops for this music. It was for the reciter, who was to be Albertina Zehmer herself in the premiere. But with also 5 musicians, and some of the musicians double up on other instruments, and a conductor. 7 people involved in the performance, and the number 7 significant. We'll come on to that in a bit. But Schoenberg produced this amazing work, 40 rehearsals before the premiere, and then when it was premiered on October the 16th, 1912, at the Berlin Choralliensaal, the music caused an instant reaction. I mean, it's not hard to see why. Listen, how odd and how strange this music must have seemed to those ears. It's still odd today. I mean, people predictably protested vociferously. People were hissing. Apparently someone was threatening to shoot Schoenberg. It's all a bit crazy. But there were admirers as well, of course, who were on their feet applauding Schoenberg. It must have been a real occasion, and a real watershed moment in the history of Western art music. So, what is it about this music? Well, let's look at the text first. These poems are strange, nightmarish utterances centering around this harlequin figure of Pierrot. And the poems are in the form of a French rondo, where you have a repeated refrain, which you get at the beginning of the poem, in the middle and at the end. I'll read you a translation of one. Prayer to Pierrot, which is the 9th song in the collection. Pierrot, my laughter I have forgot. My source of light is erased. Black waves the flag now upon my mast. Pierrot, my laughter I have forgot. Oh, give me back, ye farrier of spirit, snowman of posy, princess of moonshine, Pierrot, my laughter. So did you hear how, Pierrot, my laughter was repeated throughout. And it's like that in all the poems. The poems have this eerie, uncanny quality to them, perfectly suited to the free atonality of Schoenberg's music. Themes in the poetry include desire, madness, violence, being estranged from one's home, really heavy and rather dark themes. But it's utterly compelling, and the music just fits the poetry perfectly. The music is atonal. Schoenberg hadn't yet devised his 12-tone system, but Schoenberg draws, as he did throughout his career, on past forms, classical forms. You wouldn't think to on a first listen, but Pierrot Lunaire, has a Passacaglia in it, for instance. There's a canon in there as well. There's hints of fugue here and there. Certainly counterpoint, ideas inverted and passed around in this woven texture. Now, one more thing before we get to the songs themselves. Schoenberg was a complete numbers nut. He was just obsessed with the significance numbers could have. And this is certainly apparent in Pierrot Lunaire. I mean, for a start, there's 21 songs, okay? And this is his Opus 21. But also 7 is an important number. The proper title for this is 3 times 7 poems from Albert Giraud's Pierrot Lunaire. And 7 just crops up all the time. And the main idea through the whole cycle is 7 notes. Indeed, there's 7 members in the ensemble, including the conductor, the reciter and the musicians. And 3 is an important number as well, perhaps reflecting the 3 verses of each of the poem, but a lot of the motifs have 3 notes in. So yeah, it's a piece rich in kind of significance. It certainly isn't something that's just thrown together in a quasi-improvisatory way, as perhaps you'd think if you just heard this for the first time. Just one more thing as well about the way the piece is declaimed. It's Sprechstimme, which is kind of halfway between singing and talking. Kind of very expressionistic vocal technique, which really is absolutely suited to this work. The whole work, the 21 poems, are divided into 3 parts. And part 1, the first 7 songs, begins with the song Mondestrunken, which is kind of moon drunk. This song is about kind of intoxicating influence of the moon. And essentially it's in a strophic form. That means we have the same kind of idea repeated 3 times. And by the way, the form of each of the songs is down below in the description with the bar numbers. This first song is important because it introduces perhaps the most important idea in the whole piece. This 7 note, yes, 7 notes, the 7 note idea, which goes like this. Those 7 notes we hear in various guises throughout the whole of the piece, right to the end. Now let's listen to how the piece starts. Incredible opening, isn't it, to a work? So eerie, so strange. And in this first song we have the flute, the violin, the cello and the piano. And the flautist will, throughout the piece, interchange with piccolo, the violin with viola. We have a clarinet part as well as the piano and the cello. The second song, Colombine, is kind of about an obsessive, unfulfilled desire of Pierrot towards Colombine. And it's like a waltz. It's a binary form piece, really. We start off with this idea.
Das Mond
That's the first section. Schoenberg and the other second Viennese composers often harks back, of course, to the golden age of the waltz. We then have a second section where this waltz feel starts to disintegrate. And at the end we have an additional section, rather choppier, different texture. Now listen out for that 7-note motif here. Did you hear that? It was like a variation of that original idea we heard right at the beginning of the first song. The next song, Der Dandy, is really about the moon illuminating Pierrot as he does his makeup. And it's quite a night. This is really quite a nightmarish short song with two verses which you could sense are related to each other. They're almost a repeat, but then with an additional section. It begins with a howl from the clarinet. We also hear that 7-note idea repeated again in this song. And eventually we hear a contrasting section, B, where we hear Pierrot himself mentioned for the first time. And I like this recording because Patricia Kopancheskaya really changes her voice when she sings about Pierrot. It's like almost like she's got a split personality. Real change there in texture and in tempo. The fourth song, Eine blasse Wäscherin, which is the washerwoman, the pale washerwoman, is kind of about this ghostly figure washing clothes in the light of the moon. And the music is completely bled out of all colour. It's kind of a ghostly pale, very quiet as well. Pale music to go with the pale lyrics. It's in a ternary form. We have a contrasting B section when Pierrot sings, "Through the glade steals gentle breezes, softly playing over the stream." And we have a return to A. It's just worth saying here that all these songs are incredibly short. They're all about, 1.5 to 2 minutes generally. The fifth song, Valse de Chopin, is all about the kind of poet being inspired, almost haunted by music. And the lyrics speak of tuberculosis here, and of course Chopin died from tuberculosis. And again, as we'd expect from the title, this is a waltz. Here's the first section. We have a heavily varied repeat of that waltz, A section, and then we have a B section where the waltz kind of peters out. Now right at the end of this song is a really interesting moment where we're kind of transported very briefly and with one repeated note into the world of Chopin. We have these notes as if they're from a Chopin prelude or something. Just a very kind of simple but effective and knowing wink to the inspiration behind this song. The sixth song is a Pieta, really, the Virgin Mary holding her crucified son, but in a rather slightly sacrilegious way, and there is a bit of that in Pierrot Lunaire, it has to be said. This is written very much in a quasi-Baroque style. We have this walking bass. Etc., that kind of plodding along pretty much all the way through. And we have these contrapuntal lines in the flute and bass clarinet. It's essentially in binary form. There is the contrasting B section, sounds like this. I love those glitzes in the cello there. That kind of thing, really, really great. We haven't heard those yet in this piece, those slides. We then come to the final song of the first section, Der Kranke Mond, which is all about the kind of the lovesick moon coming down over the horizon, descending, sinking. This really is the same kind of idea repeated 3 times. There isn't so much of a separate section here, and this is repeated actually later on in the piece as well. And it is just the solo flute with the vocal line. A very expressive moment in this piece. So as we reach the end of this first 7 songs, we've already touched on themes of desire, of lust, of the moon, of course, as this enduring symbol, but also of despair and death and sickly sense in the words and in the music. Part 2 begins with Nacht. Night, which is a passacaglia. A passacaglia is a Baroque form, an idea, quite often a repeated bass line and varied each time. And Schoenberg uses this form here. Of course, Webern composed the passacaglia as well, Schoenberg's pupil. Both of them perhaps being influenced by Brahms's passacaglia from the finale of his 4th symphony. I think this has got such a beautiful opening, this piece. Essentially, it's a kind of theme and variations, we hear the same material kind of recycled 3 times. But the main passacaglia idea goes like this. Such a beautiful opening. Quite often we don't associate Schoenberg's music with beauty, but I think this is a really wonderful opening to this this 8th song, particularly as the cello and bass clarinet come in at the end. There's this kind of real sonority which kind of really moves you inside. And basically a 3-note idea is just passed around in its counterpoint. lyrics, I think, are about depression. Black enormous butterflies have blotted out the sun's bright rays. A forbidden book of spells broods the nighttime sky, mysterious. From the misty gloom below them comes a perfume that wipes out memory. Black enormous butterflies have blotted out the sun's bright rays. It's in this Passacaglia as well. We hear some canons. By that I mean some exact repetitions, a beat or so apart between the bass clarinet, cello and piano lines. Gabet and Pierrot, the prayer to Pierrot, again is really about depression, I think, and an inability to laugh. Very bleak lyrics. And there's no strong contrast in this song. It's really three, again, a bit like Nacht, three cycles of the material, kind of varied and altered. There's a kind of demented quality to this music. It begins like this. Song number 10, Raub, or Lute in English, is a real quirky number about Pierrot and his buddies going grave robbing and finding these rubies, which they think are eyes. Full of kind of instrumental effects. The violin is muted and plays col legno, which is where you kind of bash the strings with the wood of the bow. That kind of thing. And it's really in two sections. It begins like this. And then we have another section in contrast where we have these quicker notes. That last piano idea there, reminiscent of that 7-note motif we heard at the beginning of the first song. Song 11, The Red Mass, Rota Messa. Again, it has a sacrilegious feel to it. Pierrot is posing as a priest. I think musically this is just outstanding. We have the glitter of the candles on the altar. Listen out in particular to the piano part. Then the music changes for the B section, where Pierrot holds up the kind of bloodied host. We then have a much quieter C section. The 12th song, Galgenlied, the Song of the Gallows, is this incredibly brief roller coaster ride with these incredibly rhythmic vocal utterances. It sounds like this. Kind of got that feel, boom, a boom, a boom. almost like you could beatbox behind it. There's something of the perverted sexual desire juxtaposed with this death on the gallows. The next song, Ein Hauptum, a decapitation, is really about about death, about the moon as a terrible instrument of death. Kind of this sickle-shaped moon, which is almost like a Turkish scimitar coming down on Pierrot's head. Really is a kind of contemplation on the terrors of death here. It begins with these kind of almost Baroque-like rhythms. It's like bum 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 bum. The song is really ternary form. We have a B section where the main ideas are developed. Probably the closest we get to a kind of a development section in this music, in the whole cycle. Thrilling music. When you're listening to this, your ears are really working out. We then come to a return of the opening material, and then after that we have a recap, a reprise of the kranke Mond, the sick moon, from part 1. This is purely instrumental this time. The 14th song, the last song of part 2, Die Kreuze, the crosses, really again is to do with death. Death permeates the cycle as a whole, but particularly perhaps in the second part of the cycle, the central part. And the words are really about how poets are these Christ-like figures on crosses, being crucified, and I suppose the public gawping at them. It's in ternary form. It begins like this. Then in complete contrast, the B section, it just has these chords emerging out of this this fortissimo climax, just dead still and dead quiet. This is a depiction of death. Transition between the two sections is just absolutely spellbinding, so gripping. The song then ends with a climax, with a return to the opening material, and we end with the two chords which opened that song, and that brings part 2 to a close. Songs haunted by death and depression. At the beginning of part 3 we have the song Heimweh, homesickness, in English. The translation, sweet lamenting and exquisite sighing, comes from Bergamo's old-fashioned dumb show. Seems to be a longing for Pierrot's hometown here, a sense of nostalgia even. It's rather episodic in nature, this song. We begin with, in the A section, with this kind of plinky plonky flourish, the kind of thing we think of as typical in atonal music. We hear kind of reminiscences of that opening 7-note idea from the beginning of the work. In the B section of this song we have this rather folk-like violin, perhaps the sounds of Pierrot's homeland, and also this perhaps something Stravinsky borrowed from Schoenberg, if you like, when he did The Soldier's Tale. Have a listen to this. Kind of a folky double stopping in the violins. With the clarinet part, it sounds rather Jewish. After a couple of more sections, remember that the form is in the description below, we come to this transition into the next song. Almost like a recitative from a Baroque opera, the way that cello line works. The next song, Gemeinheit, or Dirty Trick in English, is Pierrot kind of bullying and tormenting Cassandra, another character. Pierrot's inflicting pain here. And rather aptly, the music's violent. We hear the same material twice, but greatly varied. Begins like this. That rhythm kind of propels this song. Each horrific image is propelled along by this rhythm. The next song, Parody, is really about unrequited love, a different kind of torture. Again, like many of the other songs, it's strophic in nature, although each repetition is greatly varied. The main idea is like this. Hear the imitation there. Then the vocalist, da 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 da, repetition. There's actually a double canon in this song where the vocal, where the piccolo imitates the vocal line, and the viola imitates the clarinet line. Listen to this. Schoenberg certainly knew his classical forms. After another transition, we're into Mond, where a speck of moonlight on Pierrot's suit drives him crazy. And this is a full double canon. We had a bit of that in the previous song, but this song is remarkable in that the violin and cello are exact repetitions, where the cello copies the violin exactly at a bar's distance. So this is they overlap at a bar's distance, and the piccolo copies the clarinet exactly with a different idea. Very clever. And as it's atonal, it's probably fair to say it's probably easier to write a canon in atonal music than it is in tonal music, but nevertheless, very smart. We then get into the 19th song, Serenade. And here Pierrot plays his viola. But of course, in the actual music, it's not a viola playing, it's a cello. A typically obscure and arch gesture. It's in three sections, A, B and C. It begins with this long instrumental passage with Pierrot playing his viola, or cello in real life. bit later on in the B section we hear Pierrot kind of bowing on his head. Kind of a mock pathos about that. And did you hear the kind of quick flurry of that Pierrot motif, the 7-note motif we've heard throughout the cycle in the cello. We then come to Heimfahrt, Journey Homeward. Pierrot's off back to Bergamo, and it's a barcarolle. It has that rocking feel, you know, similar rhythmic movement to Offenbach's barcarolle, if you know that piece. So here Schoenberg rather cleverly turns that Pierrot motif, the 7-note idea, into the kind of rocking waves. The pizzicato there, you can hear the waves. The flute plays these high passages almost like the moon glinting on the sea. And right at the end of this song we have a reference to the opening as well, the opening of the song cycle. The last song of the cycle, O alter Duft, O ancient scent, really concerns itself with nostalgic memories of days gone by. We hear the 7-note motif throughout, various guises, and some of the music verges on the tonal. The sense of nostalgia here is a yearning for the past of tonality, who knows. There's even a chord in here which just sounds perfectly beautiful in the tonal sense, a lovely consonance. Certainly in this piece it's a D major chord. So let's play that now. It's something very melancholy, sentimental perhaps, but also in the context of the whole cycle, something very beautiful about this song. We've kind of got this melody. D major chord. Isn't that wonderful? Just whereas before people would surprise us with a moment of dissonance in a piece, Schoenberg in this massively dissonant atonal piece sticks in a glimmer of consonance just to take us back a little bit. It's very beautiful, and this beautiful song ends Pierrot Lunaire. So what are we to make of this? Well, yes, it's a challenge to get to know, I suppose, but it's really rich, fascinating, vibrant and immediate music, particularly with the Sprechstimme of the vocal line. And you know, if you don't know this piece, please check it out, give it a few listens, get to know the structures of the songs, get the score. And you know, as I've said, the structure of each of the songs of the bar numbers are down below. So yeah, Schoenberg, great composer. His music needs a few listens, undeniably, but it's great music. And Pierrot Lunaire, once you get under its skin, will haunt you. It is a great piece of music. Thank you for watching. If this is your kind of thing, please click like and subscribe. And if there's anything you want me to look at in the future, please put it in the comments below. All the best. Bye.